Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick-Taking Table. I'm Taylor, and I love cats. I don't know if they love me back. I don't know how many emotions they have. What's great is the game we're covering today is not only cat-themed, it's called Catty, after all, but it's by the greatest, I think, trick-taking designer of all time, Taiki Shinzawa. But I wondered, humans love Taiki Shinzawa, of course they do, but do cats? Is it a cross-species thing? And what are cats' favorite trick-taking games? So let's hit the streets and go interview some of them. Hi, do you like trick-taking games? Do you like Taiki Shinzawa games? What's your favorite trick-taking game?
Isn't it like the electrolyte?
Hey Ira, do you like trick-taking games? Hi, do you like trick-taking games? Do you like trick-taking video games? Games, not videos, sorry. I didn't mean videos.
It's actually good.
Don't know if we got a lot out of that. Anyway, the hook to Catty is, or should I say hooks, because really this game has so many twists and hooks. That's kind of like Patrick from SpongeBob trying to eat all the cheese. The first hook, I'd say, is you can see the card backs, which we've kind of seen before on Scharfschotten. But also, there's bidding, but not just bidding, but spatial bidding. Crazy. There's a thing where as you bid, if you hit a certain number, you actually loop back to the bottom. It's a kind of monster trick or a situation where it's like circular bidding. And then finally, if the winner wins the trick, the winner wins the trick, of course they do, the winner of the trick will actually take a card back into their hand. So you have variable player hands and the game ends when someone is out of cards. Absolutely insane. So before we go to the table though, I just wanted to say huge shout out to James Nathan, who helped translate these rules and helped point me to the rules that Taiki Shinzawa say are better and make this game so much tighter, so much more interesting. So huge debt of gratitude to James. I think that's what they look like. I have a kind of a slideshow going there of my impression of what James does on his free time. So thank you so much, James. Now let's go to the table. The deck in Catty is made up of 4 suits numbered 1 through 9. The pink cat suit is always trump. At a 3-player game, you'll remove all of one suit, and at 4, you'll use all the cards. Here we have the game set up for 3 players, so no matter the player count, each player is going to get a player color, which comes along with a bet card, a cube to denote who they are, a cube for their score, because this is the score tracker on the right here, the cheese, and then also a pawn. And what this does is it keeps track of how many tricks that person has won. So if their pawn was there, that means they won 2 tricks in the hand so far. No matter the player count, each player is going to get dealt 9 cards, so the whole deck, nothing's cut out. And also, as you can see here, you can see the suit of the card on the back. Also, the original game, the track was 1 to 6, but the designer on Twitter was talking about how it's actually a better game if you have a tighter track here, 1 to 4. So I'm going to teach the game like this, because I think this is how they wanted it to be played. The goal in Catchy is to hit your bid, and so after players get dealt their cards, they're going to look at their cards and then also try to glean information of the back of the hand of the other player's cards, especially trump, because pink is always trump in this game. For the very first round, whoever has the 1 blue is going to make a bet of how many tricks they think they're going to win. And this betting is like a spatial kind of puzzle thing, so I'm going to move these a little to the side because we're going to be using the outsides of this track to bet. So since the red player here has the 1 blue, they're going to bet first, and maybe they're not sure they're going to win many tricks. They're going to just play it safe and say, I'm going to win either 1 or 2 tricks at the end of the hand. And that 1 or 2 bet is kind of true, because in this game, your goal is to land on a spot where your bet is. But also, if you're at the 4th spot, so say this red player was at the 4th spot, and they win another trick, you actually loop back to the 1st spot again. So they can still hit their bet if they get 1, 2, or 5 and 6 tricks. You would then go clockwise, so the cat here would then make a bet. And what's interesting is, if you're more confident about your bet, you can go horizontal, meaning you're 100% sure, or you think you're 100% sure, you're going to get 2, or again, maybe 6 tricks in the round. So then it would come to the yellow player, and what's interesting is they're kind of cut off from doing a soft bet or any type of bet with 2. So they can't go here because you can't overlap. So they could do a soft bet 3 or 4, or a hard 3 or 4 up top. They could do a hard 1, But as you can see from the spatial part of this game, the betting later gives you fewer options. So maybe they're not sure and they're just going to go 3 or 4 soft bet as well. If at the end of the round the players have hit their soft bet, so maybe it was like this, you get 20 points for a soft bet and then you get 40 points for a hard bet. If you're off by any amount, so maybe the green player was off by 2, you lose 10 points for every amount you're off on. And if it's a soft bet and you're off like this, you would lose 10 points. Hard bet like this, you would lose 20 points. If a soft bet was like this, they would lose 20 points, I believe, in this situation, because even though you can wrap around, maybe they got 5 tricks, so they are technically 1 away from 4. If you wrap around and you're still this far away, you would lose 20 points. So now that the players have their bets, the person to lead the trick is again the person with the 1 blue. And so Catty is a must-follow game, so if the player played their 1 blue, the lion cat here would have to play a blue card. So maybe they play their 9 blue. Coming to Meowth, they have to follow suit. If they have it, they do only have 1 blue, so they'll play that one. So the winner of the trick will move up their pawn on the track here. But they don't just collect the trick. What they do is they take one of their opponent's cards, not their own, back into their hand. So maybe the cat takes this 1 back into their hand, and then these cards are just discarded. So then the cat could actually then just play that 1 again. So coming to Meowth here, they don't have any blue, so maybe they play the 1 pink, and the mouse plays the 5 blue. So the pink will win, because Trump always wins. That'll go there. And then again, Meowth here can actually pick back up that same 1 blue back into their hand. So as you can see, players will have different amount of cards in their hand as you play. So the hand, actually, or the round ends when a player is out of cards. Jumping to the end here, maybe it's Mouse's turn to lead. They play the 7 of trump. Each other cat plays their following suit. So red will win the trick. They're actually going to loop around from 4 back to 1. They collect this 9. These go into the discard, but as you can see over here, the green player doesn't have any cards. So that was the last trick, and then you'll see if players made their bets. So it looks like in this case, they all made their bets. So yellow and red would get 20, and green would get 40. If this was a score and it was actually like this, again, yellow and red would get 20, and then green would have lost 10 points. So then you would collect all the cards, and you'd redeal, and then you'd play again, and you keep playing until either someone hits the 100, or if you play 4 rounds. And the start player, again, every round is the person with the 1 blue. There are some variants on this. You can play where the start player for the betting and the leading is actually the person who's losing points-wise. Kind of a nice catch-up mechanism. Also, you can play where in the very first round, players start with a certain amount of points. So it makes the first hand a little scarier because if you're off by any, you don't just go down none, because if this was the first round, they were already at 0, so they don't lose any. But they would lose 10, so it makes the first round a little more interesting if you start here. Then you would just kind of bump up and say, you know, first to 110 or first to 130 or whatever it may be. Those variants are how my group plays. I think it adds a lot to the game. But again, you can play however you want. And that's how to play Catty. So that is Catty, and I love this game so much. This might be one of my favorite Shinzawas, and that's a bold sentence to make, and I stand by it, because this game does so much, does so many twists. I'm a sucker for twists, and this game has them in spades, or more specifically, mice with cute little capes. Because first off, this production is so cute. From the cheese and the scoring, all the way to all the suits with the different mice, and the fact that the Trump suit is cats, but the other suits are mice, is so clever. You know exactly what suit is Trump just like intuitively, which is really smart. And then the fact that all the bet, like screaming bet cards are different mice, and what is that called? Ninja Turtles garb. And to top it all off, the 8 and the 9 of Trump, the highest cards, are these royal, king and queen of the cat Trump suit. It is such a loving design that I can't begin to tell you how many people have just wanted to play this game just by showing this to them. And the twists, you can see the card backs. You pick a card up when it's played. You have bidding that goes around the bidding chart. And then you have bidding or betting that is spatial. Like, these twists are insane. I'm going to rant about all of them. Let's start with the card suits on the backs of the cards. So we've seen this in Scharfschatten or, Luz, or whatever it may be. But in this game, it helps so much because you're bidding on how many tricks you think you can take. And looking out when you see someone have just a million of the pink trump suit in their hand, you can definitely understand kind of the flow of a hand. Like, this person's going to do pretty well, so I should pay attention to that. And what's nice is the card backs are always there. So when you're mid-trick, you know who's in suit and what, which can be super important later on in the game when you're really just trying to win one last trick to hit your bid. And so then this ties into the second wild twist, is picking back cards up. I love in this game how you can play to the trick and be short-suited, mid-hand, and then win a trick and be back in the suit. And players all notice that. So there's not too much unpredictability for being back in suit. I love that there's a sense of, trick-by-trick calculation of, okay, if I lead blue, that person doesn't have any pink or blue, they're not going to win. So you don't really have to even worry about them. But what they pick to play, I might put back into my hand. And they know that. There's so many times in this game that just like they play off the old ideas of trick taking. If you're short-suited in the lead suit and you have no trump, you're like, I don't care what I play, this is so dumb. But it's super important because they might pick up a card that you play. So say, okay, this is it's just so crazy, this blows me away. Say you have in your hand the 7, 8, 9, or just some sequential cards in your hand, like the 4, 5, 3. You usually, in trick taking, since they're sequential, it doesn't matter what you play. You can play the 3 or the 5, since you know you have the 4, it doesn't matter. But in this game, it's crazy important. Say you play the 4, and they pick up the 4. Well, you're glad you did that, right? Because now you have the 5 and the 3, and you can choose which one you want to play when they play that 4. But if you just played the 5, thinking, oh, it doesn't matter if I play the 4, 5, 3, they pick up the 5, now you're losing. It's so crazy. This game is so fascinating to me. So in that specific short-suited example, say I have the 8 and the 6, I want to play the 6, so they pick that up, maybe play it, then I can play the 8. Or I play the 8, so when they pick that up, I lose and play the 6. You have a ton, even if you're not going to win the trick, you have a ton of agency on what goes into the trick, which is almost someone else's hand, to kind of still make sure you hit your bid. Which gets us to the other hook, the bidding, which is so genius. I know there's 2 different layers to it. The first one, the fact that it wraps around, is fascinating. I know I was playing with kind of the altered, more fun rules, where it's only 1 through 4, but it's so fun how I think I've seen it a couple times where players loop and potentially hit their bid again. I've said before, certain games, maybe Time Pal Tricks or Dua, or there's certain Shinzawa games where there's no benefit for a 0 bid, so it's kind of tough if you have a bad hand. But in this one, since players kind of like warp around a bunch, and you do start off the board, so you do have to get 1 trick, but usually everyone gets at least 1 trick. There's kind of like an interesting sloughing moment where people sometimes will kind of race to their bid and then not want to take any tricks at all. And I love the decision of if someone races to their bid too soon, do they wrap or not when it's mid-hand? Because again, you don't know when the hand's going to end. Everyone could win a trick and then it lasts, 1 full more round. Or someone could just win a bunch and then it's out super early. So the variable length of the game, the variable bid, wrapping your bid, seeing your cards, oh my gosh, and I haven't even talked about the spatial bidding. Taiki Shinzawa's brain astounds me. This person fell into a radioactive trick-taking puddle or something. They have superhero powers that don't make sense to me, which fits because it's about superhero mice. But the bidding is so fascinating how it's spatial. So if you make one of these bids, maybe you're trying to block, or maybe you're just not confident, it's so crazy how a non-confident bid actually takes up more space and blocks more area for the other players. The interaction between the person who's losing getting to bid first and blocking it to where the person who's winning will just have a very harder but more specific bid is so smart. I don't know how he came up with this, but the idea of spatial bidding just like blows my mind, and it's done so well here. It's just everything sings together. It's like it's like he wanted to innovate on too much at one point, and he's like, you know what? Let's put this in one game and just blow everyone's brain. So I'm gushing here, and I need to probably reel it back in, because if I'm being honest, this is just catering 100% to me. I love twists that work perfectly. I like how this is the start of a caveat, but I'm not making it sound like it. But it has a lot of twists, and if you're someone who likes a trick taker where maybe there's one or two wrinkles, and what sounds maybe like too much could be, I think I've shown this to enough new and experienced people where it's landed throughout. The Teach, it kind of has like a QVC, like I'm pitching you a product on television, because there's a lot of but wait, there's more. There's a lot of like and then that can either get people excited, or if you're someone who doesn't like too many twists, maybe is a little bit of a detriment. So that's my caveat, is there are a lot of twists. I think they personally all work super well. It's a well-oiled machine that informs itself, but if it does sound like a lot to you, it might be. But if you are intrigued and excited by everything you hear, you are going to love this game. So that is Catty. Is it the Shinzawa to end all So that is Catty, and is it the Shinzawa to end all Shinzawas? I don't know, but I absolutely adore it. And for what it is probably the most Shinzawa of the Shinzawas. So it, I sound insane. But if you love twists, if you love his earlier games, and you did just want to have a crazy deep dive into what I find as an extremely fun and extremely outlandish game, I think you're going to have a great time. And check it out for sure. This does get the seal. And thanks so much for watching.